This is Jonathan Aguilar, Fit for Pro Boxing fans. Delighted to have Tony Sims on the channel this afternoon. Tony, how you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks you.
Good stuff. There's a lot of talking points in the sport right now. You've got a lot of fighters, with dates coming up. Martin J. Ward, especially in Vegas. When are you heading out?
We're heading out on Tuesday, the 18th. So we're just waiting for Martin's visa to be finalised. So we're hoping to head out on Tuesday.
Well, there was talk that another one of your fighters might have been fighting on the weekend, John Ryder, at the beginning of last week when there was talk that Billy Joe might not fight. Was there any indication you were ever going to fly out there?
Well, John was flying out on the Wednesday to do media anyway. And then I believe like Tuesday night, all the commotion was going on about the size of the ring and Billy Joe going to pull out the fight. So it was weird. So it just coincided that John already was flying out on the Wednesday morning. So it sort of all blew up and, everyone was asking why John was flying out there, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, it was always going to be resolved about the ring always. So, there's never much indication that John was going to step in for Billy Joe. But obviously, if he would have got the call, he definitely would have. But I always thought that the ring would be sorted anyway.
Yeah. What did you make of the fight itself, Tony? How did you assess it?
I thought Billy Joe was doing a lot better than anyone thought he was going to do in it. I thought I had Canelo ahead, but, Billy was in the fight up until the eye injury. So, it just shows what a good fighter Billy is, how clever he is, and, I think Canelo was struggling at times to get near him.
Canelo obviously was coming on strong and, ended up winning the fight. How impressed were you with Canelo as well?
Oh, yeah, like Canelo's one of my favourite fighters of all time, I think. I just love watching Canelo. And as you say, he was coming on strong. I think his tactics was probably to come on really strong late in the fight. And as you can see, all punches he was throwing was like power punches. So he was only looking to do one thing, that was to get Billy Joe out of there. But I think a couple of rounds leading up to that, though, why it seemed like he was waiting a lot to land the big shot. And at the same time, Billy Joe was like peppering him with the jabs and the backhands. But as you say, he was coming on strong in the end. And I think there was only going to be one ending anyway, even if the eye injury never happened.
What is it about Canelo, do you think, that makes him so good? And how much do you think he has improved since that loss to Mayweather?
Well, I think the Mayweather loss probably done him the world of good because he gained a ton of experience in that fight. And, he was good then as a young kid. And like you say, he's so much better now. He's got everything in his armory. He's got speed. He's got ring generalship. He's very clever. He's hard to hit. His defence is brilliant. The way he slips shots minimally and counters. His body work, his body shots are fantastic. And, he's just a great fighter. And we're lucky, to watch this man at work in this decade.
Do you think it's going to take something really special to beat him? Or did Billy Joe show some chinks in his armour at all?
I do believe that he'll take someone special to beat him. And it might take, another couple of years at the moment, because right at this moment in time, I don't see anyone out there that's capable of beating him at his weight at super middleweight. Whether he takes a big risk and moves back up to like heavyweight, say to fight Berbatov, I might, that might be a different matter, because he could come unstuck there just because of the size and the weight and the power. But he's saying that he's not going to move from super middleweight, and I don't believe that at this moment in time there's a super middleweight out there that could beat him.
The stoppage obviously was a massive talking point. Since come out that Billy Joe's had surgery on an orbital bone fracture. Does it go without saying that Mark Tibbs made the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, look, watching a fight on TV, you can't see how bad the injury is. And, you know, to us looking in, it just looked like he, you know, got caught in the eye and like he had a bit of a shiner when he walked back to the corner. But he obviously knew in himself that the orbital bone was broke. And, you know, obviously Mark assessed it and, you know, called time on the fight. And looking back at reflections at the fight, it was the right decision. But obviously, as fans looking in, we'd have all liked to see Billy Joe jump off the stool and, you know, go back to work and see how the fight panned out. But as I was saying earlier, that I think there was only going to be one ending in that fight, you know, and Canelo was coming on strong. And I think, you know, he would have done the job in the end anyway.
As a trainer, how difficult is it to make those decisions when you've only got 60 seconds? You know, you've been through all the work of camp and things. How difficult a decision is that, you know, from a trainer's perspective? Have you ever been in anything similar?
It is difficult, but what it is, when you're working with a fighter for a long time, you get to know them. You get to know them on a personal level, and you know, you get to know because obviously you're sparring them all the time, and they've had a lot of fights with you. You get to know their individual needs and, you know, whereabouts when they're in the ring, and, you know, what if there's something the matter, you can tell instantly. A little bit like if your kid's at home and he's not feeling very well, do you know what I mean? You can spot it instantly. And it's like when they come back to the corner, obviously you have only got 60 seconds to you know, to make that decision. But you sort of know inside, you look at the way the fight's going, you know, if they're injured, you'll know instantly if they're injured. If they're not, say they've hurt their hand, it's the right hand, you'll know instantly that they've hurt their hand. You don't need them to come back to the corner and say, oh, I've hurt my hand, you know, because you're watching them constantly throughout the months, throughout the years and throughout the weeks, you know, building up into that fight. So, you know, Billy in his corner would have known that there was something wrong when he sat down on his stool, you know, and that's obviously why Mark called a halt to it before the 60 seconds was out. They would have known.
Yeah. In terms of sort of the future for Billy Joe, are you hoping to see him back, or do you think with that kind of injury he's got to, you know, be careful and maybe take some time out for a while?
Yeah, he'll take time out. You know, listen, he's earned a lot of money, Billy Joe, out of boxing, and not a lot of people can say that. So, you know, financially he's secure. You know, he's a two-weight world champion. Has he really got a lot more to prove other than wanting to fight himself? You know, I don't know. Obviously, it's his decision what to do. And, you know, that's something that he's got to sit down with his team and, you know, work out himself, really.
Tony, let's go on to your stable. Sort of a few weeks ago now, Felix Cash with a great win on a BT sports show over Denzel Bentley. Were you impressed with what you saw from Felix?
Oh, I knew he had that in his locker to do that. You know, I've said all along, fight week, well, for the weeks leading up to the fight, you know, I fancied him strong to beat Denzel, and that's no disrespect to Denzel. You know, he's a decent kid, but I just think I always felt Felix was going to go above domestic level, and I believe that he can be a world level fighter. You know, he's got everything in his locker to be a world level fighter, and I just felt like this was just another step towards that for him. And obviously, I didn't know he was going to obviously stop him that early, but I did feel at some stage in the fight he'll get on top of him and knock him out.
You made it clear that you want to go sort of the European route next. Is that correct?
I would like to, yeah. European titles being contested in June by Signani. He's fighting a Spanish guy. I can't think of his name, to be honest. But anyway, he's defending that. I think it's something like the 25th or 26th of June. He's defending the European title. And Felix is due to box in August. So looking at it now, it probably won't be Felix's next fight.
Right.
But hopefully it will get made before the end of the year. I think Eddie will be able to make it because Sigani's obviously with Christian Churchy in Italy, and Eddie does a lot of work with him. So I think the fight can be made, but I don't think it'll be Felix's next one by the looks of the dates.
Okay. John Ryder, looking like Dave Morrell. What do you make of Dave Morrell as a fighter? Obviously, top amateur, but inexperienced in the professional ranks, but with a world title to his name.
Yeah, obviously he's an experienced amateur. I think they were saying his record's like 135-2, but he's only 22 years old. He's been in exile in the US for a couple of years before he got his pro license. So he's had 4 professional fights. Obviously they're fast running him through the through these fights. But in saying that, like, the best name on his card is Lennox Allen, who was like, believe he was about 36 years old, and hadn't boxed for a couple of years. So that's like the best fighter on his resume at the moment. And I don't believe that he boxed anyone near the class of John Ryder or the experience of John Ryder. And obviously John fancies the fight, and it was a bit weird, really, because John was supposed to be fighting for the vacant title against him, and then the WBA just emailed David Morrell and said, "We've upgraded you to WBA regular champions." So it changed all the financial sort of side of the purse bids, where it would have been probably 50-50. It's changed, the financial side of it. So John's not sort of getting as much as we thought we might get for the fight. But with Canelo sort of clearing up all the major belts at the moment, and no one's really going to get looking. Canelo's going to fight Caleb Plant in September.
Yeah.
That will be his 4th belt. So he may not fight again, Canelo, sort of till the new year then, because he's had a lot of fights all in succession. So you're either going to sit about and box whoever over here on cards, or take the opportunity and fight for the WBA regular title. Now, if John does win that WBA regular title in the States, which he'll have to, still box well over there to win away from home, that opens up doors for John and other contenders, i.e. like Danny Jacobs, David Lemieux. So that opens doors for big fights for John while Canelo's doing his thing. So it's a fight and a title that John needs to go over there and be impressive and win the fight.
As I mentioned, Martin J. Ward coming up in, I think, a couple of weeks now on the Devin Haney card in Vegas. IBF final eliminator.
Yeah, he's got an hard fight, Martin. The South African Azinga Fuzeli. He's a tricky customer, southpaw, smart boxer. I watched him box Rakimov, and to be honest, he was winning every round, and he got caught with one shot in, I think it was the 8th or 9th round, and just got sparked. But apart from that, he's winning every round. He's very, very smart, clever fighter off the back foot. That's his only defeat. The reason he's back in the frame again for the IBF final eliminator is because there was a big. What happened was when someone went in Rakimov's room, and there was steroids found in his room, and Rakimov's trainer put his hands up to it. So there was a big debate. There was a lot of scream ups from the South Africans, and basically the IBF have given Azinga Fuzeli another shot at the IBF. So he gets a final eliminator against Martin. And obviously, as you know, Rakimov's fighting for the vacant title against, what's his name, Iguana or something, a Japanese guy. So they're fighting for the vacant title. Martin and the South African are fighting for the final eliminator. So yeah, so if he beats him, obviously he goes mandatory for the winner of them two.
Yeah, he must be just desperate to get out again because it's been a long while since he's been out. February 2020, wasn't it?
February 2020, yeah, and I think for Zilla, he's been out even longer. I think he was September 19. So obviously both fighters have been out for quite a while, but you know, a lot of fighters have been out for a long time, and you know, COVID has, you know, put a big blanket over boxing, you know, and people have had to put their careers on hold. But the thing about Martin is he's not been out of the gym for that year. You know, he's been in the gym every day for that year. So, you know, it ain't as though he feels like, oh, I ain't trained for a year, I ain't done nothing. He's been in the gym every day. You know, he's done bits of sparring here and there when people needed the sparring, and you know, he's kept himself in fantastic condition, and he done a good 12-round spar yesterday with two different fighters. So he's in great nick, you know, and he's you know, he's just got to go over into Vegas and put it all on the line, and you know, set himself up with a world title fight.
And a great win in Gibraltar for Ted Cheeseman over JJ Metcalf to win that British title. How pleased were you for Ted to, you know, after everything he's been through with the setbacks and outside of the ring, how pleased were you for him to get that win?
Yeah, I was over the moon for him. You know, he's as you say, he's been through, you know, some setbacks in his personal life that he's had to, you know, that was the biggest fight of his life coming through his personal life. You know, he's had to restart up all again financially, you know, and you know, trying to beat an addiction while you're trying to be an athlete at the same time ain't easy, because obviously your mind's, one side of your mind's trying to beat the addiction and the other side of your mind's trying to concentrate on what you're trying to do. So, you know, he come through that, and you know, a lot of people believe that he beat Scott Fitzgerald but never got the decision. You know, so yeah, you know, he was like disgusted over that decision, and you know, but he's rebuilt himself, and like as you say, the Metcalf fight was a big fight, as a lot of people fancied Metcalf to beat Ted. Well, I believe Metcalf was a favourite in the betting, and but it's like Ted said before, and if the bookies are always right, he said, I'd be a millionaire. So, you know, and he showed that on the night that the bookies weren't right in putting Metcalf as favourite, and you know, he done a number on him. I thought he outboxed him early on, hurt him early on, and then he done him at his own game late on. He fought on the inside with him and eventually knocked him out. So it was a great win for Ted. Puts him up to like 5th in the IBF rankings, and you know, he's obviously top of the domestic rankings as well.
I was going to ask you about that because obviously with the British title, everyone wants to fight him with that coveted belt, and then he's got that IBF ranking. You know, is he interested in you as the trainer and guiding his career? You interested in domestic fights against guys like Anthony Fowler, Troy Williamson, or are you looking at the IBF world level route?
Well, we're looking at both really. We're just going to see what's best for Ted at the end of the day. You know, I've got to sit down and have a meeting with Eddie. I think Eddie's looking to get him out in August time, because Eddie's looking at doing fight camp again. So, you know, that'll be on a weekly Saturday night basis, and you know, he's looking to put Ted on one of them bills, and that'll be in August time. So just got to sit down and go through it, whatever's the right fight for Ted financially and obviously physically, that we'll go with. But, you know, in the meantime, like you say, where he's got a lofty IBF ranking, you know, if something comes up along them lines there, which you never know. I remember when I had Lee Purdy sitting at number 4 in the IBF, and Devin Alexander was fighting Kell Brook, and Kell hurt his ankle, and then all of a sudden, bang, Lee Purdy got the call up. Do you know what I mean? So when you're in them top 5 of world rankings, you never know what's going to happen. You know, you can get a shot at any time. So he's in a great position, Ted, at the moment, and you know, obviously he's got the British belt as well, and there's some good domestic fights to be made. You know, like Troy Williamson is his mandatory. So, you know, we'll just see what's the best deal for Ted.
Joe Cordina had a good win last time out after a long time out. and he's over there. I thought you were in the shop before. How you doing, Joe? You all right?
Not too bad, pal. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Maybe you can answer this. What do you want to do next?
Obviously, I leave that to Tony. Tony, like the question you just asked him about him guiding Ted, I trust in him. He's my manager. He's my trainer. Whatever he says, I trust in. I trust he's going to guide me in the right way and get me close to a world title. So yeah, all my trust is in it, in him, and I believe that he will get me to a world title.
Yeah, we're obviously going to look for a bit of a step up in Joe's next fight, like a name. So I think Joe's in touching distance to a world title now. You know, he's had a great amateur pedigree, and you know, there's not much more domestically he can do really. And I think he's ready for the step up now. He got a bit of rust off of him last time, a very awkward opponent, and you know, I think he's ready for the move up into like fighting a world-ranked fighter now. Do you know what I mean? In his next fight, and then maybe go on the fight after that, go into a final eliminator. That's where he is at the moment. He's probably 2 steps away from fighting for a world title now.
All right, great. And finally, Conor Benn, another impressive win against Samuel Vargas. Seems like a while ago now, but yeah. What's the next stage in your opinion for Conor?
Yeah, again, I've got to sit down with Eddie. Eddie said he wants him to go on the fight camp as well. So so it looks like I'll have quite a few of my boys on the fight camp bills, and you know, I'll sit down with Eddie and go through it. I mean, I'd like to go European route with Conor as well, but we've got to see what, you know, we've got to see what's on the table, and you know, there's a lot of avenues that Conor can go to. You know, he's still learning. He's only 24 years of age, but as you say, like the last performance was an impressive one in the fact that, you know, we all know Vargas was a very durable opponent, and he boxed a lot of good top world ranked fighters and taking them rounds. So obviously, you know, I thought that he would take Conor a few rounds and, you know, get a bit of experience out of him. But like he caught him early, and he just finished the job there and then. So, you know, I'm still building him, still learning him. You know, so we'll just see what, I'll sit down with Eddie Hearn and see what's right fight for him next. But you know, as I say, he's still only young at 24.
I don't want to cover sort of old ground, you know, with the Amir Khan stuff, but when that was mentioned, did you like that fight?
I do believe that fight could be made. You know, everything revolves around money, but I do think that I would like Conor to probably have another couple of fights before that fight was made. You know, and I reckon Amir would want another fight in between that anyway. He ain't boxed for a couple of years, has he? So, but I do think that fight could be made if the right money's on the table, and that's all down to, you know, that's all down to like Eddie Hearn, you know, getting that side of it done, not me. That ain't my side of it. That's his side of it. But you know, if the viewing figures are there, you know, if he gets onto pay-per-view and the viewing figures there, then the money could be there for Amir Khan and for Conor to do that fight. So, you know, it's a distant. It's in the distance at the minute because we want to get Conor out, obviously, in August, and I want another building fight for him, another learning fight for him. So we'll just see. Once I've spoken to Eddie, and then we'll know what we're doing.
It's difficult because was the Samuel Vargas fight meant to be the so-called learning fight with his experience, and then sort of kind of blows them out in a round? So was that sort of the
Yeah.
learning fight you wanted?
Yeah, because as I was saying, the fight before that, I put him in with a kid, that Formello, who obviously was a neat, tidy boxer who boxed off the back foot. So I wanted Conor to sort of go in with someone like that who he'd have to close the room down on, and work his way on the inside. So that's one bit of experience. And then the next fight, and I know that Vargas comes forward and soaks it up and sits in the pocket. So that was a different style that I wanted for him to do as well. So what you're doing is when you're building a fighter, you'll put, especially with Conor, he never had a lot of amateur experience, so he needs to go in with different styles. before you keep moving on, you need to be in with different fighters, with different styles, and so that you learn from that. But obviously, I didn't expect him to blow him away in 82 seconds, but he did, and so I'll be on the, we'll still be on the learning curve at the moment with him, with learning fights. But obviously, if Khan's around in another couple of fights and that fight can be made, then obviously, we'll be interested in doing that.